Hi guys, we're out here in Crawley in West Sussex on the main high street here. And this is the Old George Hotel. Basically when Crawley first was a sort of a stop-off point, it was kind of halfway between London and Brighton. Basically what used to happen was from the north in London, the carriages, horse and drawn carriages and whatever would stop at Crawley, and there would be here is obviously the hotel. That dates to 1597 is the earliest I can get on it, and over here is a pub that dates to a similar, it's not similar age but maybe a little bit old, bit newer. So that's the north there, will be where they come in, and then like I said, Crawley was like a sort of stopping point halfway between London and Brighton. There's actually two gates to enter into. One was based in the north where you'd have to pay a toll, and one was based in the south where you'd have to pay a toll to leave the area as well. The suburbs now that are in those areas are actually still called North Gate and South Gate, so that's where the name comes from for those two neighbourhoods. It's been a long time since I've been here, so I was actually born and brought up in this area, but I haven't lived here for a number of years now, so...
Let's get a quick picture. Sorry mate, can we get a quick picture?
Yeah, jump on, man.
Yeah, come, let me get a quick picture.
Yeah, check, bro.
That's it. Cool.
Let's see that one.
It's our video.
Oh, video.
Oh.
So I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I basically think this is possibly a little nightclub here now, so next to the hotel, which I'm not sure how that works, but especially if you're in the room next to the nightclub, but there you go. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of history. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been here, so just trying to... I'm also trying out a new tripod as well, so if it's a bit wobbly it's probably because I haven't locked something off, so bear with me. Right, we're going to move on to a few targets today. I want to do some of the banks. I've got some bits and pieces to say on them. So we're going to do a bit of stuff around town, and then we're going to hop off to the industrial area and see if we can find some dingleberries. We're also going to do a little CCTV audit as well. I do like to point the camera back when they're pointing it at us. Watching the watchers. this will be an interesting one for you. This is how they're mugging us off in the UK. That's a civil enforcement officer. And basically what they do is they use a Mickey Mouse Act called the Environmental Protection Act to ticket people for littering or dropping a cigarette butt or anything like that. Basically how it works is the Environmental Protection Act was set up to stop companies from dumping crap into the water system, or just disposing of various like waste and whatever, and just dumping it elsewhere. And that's why the Environmental Protection Act was brought in, was purely because of that. But they're now, the councils are now using it as a way of getting people for dropping litter, which is not what the Environmental Protection was supposed to be for. So yeah, that's just one way of scamming people. I think it's about £80 fine if you get nobbled for it. There's loads of videos on YouTube of people having ding-dongs with environmental protection officers. So yeah, check that out. I'll probably try and stick a couple of links in there.
Where's your big brother? Where is he? Where's your big brother? Is he there?
I just walked past this police car and he's goofing off on his mobile phone whilst being parked on double yellow lines. So he's illegally parked. A little bit of blue privilege for you. Now here's another fluffy story of deceit and underhandedness by HSBC. Basically I read a book by a guy called Robert Mansour, and it goes back to 1985. The FBI were investigating HSBC over money laundering, basically from Colombian drug cartels. And after a sort of exhaustive thing, I think it was about a year's worth of investigating they did. But what they did, this guy from the FBI was posing as a middleman for the Colombian drug cartels, and even telling them what he was doing, telling them who his clients were and what they did. Because they knew full well that they were taking drug money. And anyway, after this year-long investigation, they finally got round to charging 2 people. And one guy went to prison for 6 months and was out in 3, and the other was given something, I think it was 18 months and was out in 9. And that's the HSBC got a big fine, which is probably nowhere near the profit they actually made on laundering this money in the first place. And they've got a lot of form, and it doesn't have to go back too far. They got nobbled again. They got nobbled about, I think it was about 7 years ago. Saying this type thing this time, only they were laundering money for Mexican drug cartels. So they've got a bit of form, and obviously the fines don't deter them from laundering drug money. And a little link to that story, I'll wait for the bus to go past, is how this was really the latest scandal involving HSBC and the money and drug money laundering was. It was what they call underreported by the BBC. Now, underreporting, if you don't know, is where they put out news stories like that, the HSBC drug money laundering thing. They'll put it out at like 1 o'clock in the morning or 4 in the morning, or when no one's there to watch it, basically. It was hugely underreported, and loads of other media outlets did start pointing the finger at the BBC about this. And the reason being is that the board of trustees at the BBC had on that board a lady by the name of Rona Fairhead. Now, at the time she was BBC trustee, she was also, believe it or not, on the board of directors for HSBC. So that might be a little why it was underreported a little bit. So yeah, so that's why the fingers were pointed at the BBC over that one. So yeah, interesting. But oh, we got to see something, say something snowflake up here. In that window there. There he is. So we'll just hang on for a bit. Yeah, so interesting how things work, isn't it? It's not until you start looking into them that you start to realise that you know, there's this like little patchwork of people that have got their arses on seats in different places, and how that's all connected up. And it's not until you start looking into it and start questioning the mainstream media that, you know, these patterns start to emerge. You know. Just going to pause that for a second. Hello, mate.
Hi. You're filming the bank, so obviously they're worried about security issues.
But I'm not going to rob it.
No.
Not with a camera.
No.
I'm going to video myself robbing a bank, have I?
No, not you yourself, but obviously that's one of the things we have to get told to look out for, people videoing the bank outside for possible. So
possible what? Bazookas?
Well, break-ins or placing the joint, whatever. So
how many cameras have you got in there?
We've got quite a lot. No,
yeah, exactly. So I'm hardly going to stand out here and video your bank.
Can I ask why you're filming
I'm doing a story about HSBC.
Oh, yeah?
I'm an independent journalist.
All right, okay.
So I'm just doing some, it's just like background footage, if you like. You know, you see it on the BBC when someone's standing there, it's a camera, and they've got whatever they're talking about in the background sort of thing. So I was just going to line up a shot, do a quick shot.
Okay, was there anything interesting?
Money laundering.
Money laundering? What?
You don't know about that?
You work in the city, you? Or you
I won't tell you who I work for, but it's basically a background story on money laundering.
Right.
Yeah, I've read a few books about it actually as well, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I know we had a lot of problems in Mexico years ago with that.
Yeah, and recently.
Yeah, I don't know about recently, but obviously, you obviously got something you must know about then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good to be in the know, isn't it, really, if you do my sort of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting how it sort of comes about, but and how very underreported it becomes, to the point where even employees of the company don't know what's going on.
Well, obviously we know what to look out for and everything.
Look out for bank robbers with video cameras.
Oh yeah, so
I appreciate that. If you want to come,
quite impressed. We've noticed that then.
Well, yeah, but no, yeah, just a background story on that, really.
Yeah.
But I'll be about another 5-10 minutes and I'll be off.
Okay, that's right then. Yeah. So where's your story going to come out? Is it going to come out on something?
It depends really. It depends A, who picks it up, because I'm independent.
Yeah.
B, if it doesn't get picked up, then I tend to publish it myself. But it'll probably just go. It depends really, because once the story's finished and I've written up the other half of it, then it really depends who picks it up and how.
Is there anything you want us to get a comment on from someone official, or?
Not at the moment. If need be, I'll get in touch with head office.
Do you want to give me a card and I'll give you mine? Or not?
I don't have any business cards on me actually.
All right.
But you're the branch manager.
I'm the branch manager, yeah. But if you want to give me your details, I can set with you.
All right. I'll just get in touch with head office. I don't really need a quote as such, because it's nice of you to ask. So, but yeah, if I need to, I'll probably just go straight to head office and have a chat with them. But I don't really need, like I say, this is the background. It's just that, you know, that background B-roll type footage stuff, you know. Yeah. Just do a bit of voiceover. So it's more of like an introduction to the story, so it will go on there first and then the written piece will be underneath it. Sort of. But I tend to use stuff like DTube and stuff like that. I don't know, Steam.com. They've got a video version of YouTube that they use that goes with a Steam account. And I tend to use that quite a bit because you have to be in the Steam community to be able to watch those videos. So you have to be signed up to Steam to watch DTube. Right. As opposed to YouTube, which is, you know, there's a lot of problems with YouTube at the moment, and a lot of it's to do with like censorship.
Yeah, so there's been lots of newspaper articles about that, hasn't there? About the content on there,
and they're demonetising guys' channels. It's like anyone that kind of, especially in America, anyone that speaks out against government or big corporations, they start demonetising their channels. So they're putting out all this really good content, and they're getting nothing for it, you know, because YouTube's just demonetising them, you know. Of course, YouTube's owned by Google, which is owned by Alphabet. So it's just a one mad censoring operation, you know what I mean? Anyone that speaks out over there really gets shut down, you know. So I tend not to use YouTube too much. It's more for other stuff online than YouTube. Because my YouTube channel's not monetised, so I don't mind what I put on there because it doesn't affect me monetarily. But if you've got 500,000 subscribers and you're putting out content 2 or 3 times a week, you get fuck all for it, then that's a lot of work, you know. I mean, even today I'm doing at least 4 different stories today, it's my day off, you know. So I've got to go out and do this one.
So you do this full time?
No, I work full time. I wish I could do this full time. It's better than going to work every day. Yes, I've got to do this one. I'm doing one on private security industry as well at the moment, the PSI Act, which is the 2001 Private Security Industries Act, and it's all about security, and a lot of these security guards are not wearing their security badges, which they have to wear. I've seen tons of YouTube videos of people that are frontline security as well, outside nightclubs, hiding their badges and not showing their badges. So what have they got to hide?
I gave you a card.
Exactly. Yeah. I know who you are. Yeah. So yeah, it's just just little stories like that. But I have to try and cram it all into one day.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a story on Boeing, so I've got to go to the industrial estate in a bit, and just get some background shots of that as well. So it's all good fun.
Okay. All right, then you'll be only a few minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
Reassure me you're not about to raid us.
No,
okay.
You'll know who it is if it's me. If I come in there with a grey hat and a black jacket. Oh, he's worried about his bank getting robbed. Doesn't know anything about his bank fucking pilfering stolen drug money though, does he? Strange that, isn't it? So, anyway. Yeah, that was that. I think it was the snowflake up on the first floor. He was probably the one that buzzed down to the branch manager, but he was nice enough anyway. So we'll leave that and we'll buzz on to the next one. Oh, actually no, I'll do the next one right here, because right next to HSBC is the post office. Now I'm going to change position for this, so I'm really heading into the wind, and I think the wind's going to be a nightmare on this one, so I'm going to try and change position on this one. Sorry, I'm fiddling with my tripod again. Yeah, right, this one's a little bit more, a little bit of another financial fafar over this one. The post office in the UK was privatised recently, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. Now, what happens here in the UK, and I don't know if it's similar in the States, but they give preferential shares to what they call institutional investors. Now these people are big companies, investment banks, things like that, and they're supposed, when they call them institutional investors, is because they're supposed to hold on to these shares long term, so that's why they get them at preferential rates before the shares are released to the public for general sale, so you and I can buy them. And how it works is the basic ding dong with this one was one of the institutional investors was a bank called Standard Chartered. If any of you watch soccer or footy, it's the guys that sponsor Liverpool's football shirts. And Standard Chartered bought millions of pounds worth of shares in the post office, and they knew exactly what was going to happen. The price of the post office shares was going to jump. So Standard Chartered bought millions of pounds worth of these shares, and literally I think it was about 3 or 4 months after they rose. They rose by about £1.50 a share, in the first few months. And this institutional investor, a long-term investor in the post office, sold its shares for something like a £60 million profit. So not very long-term, not very investment-wise, and I think the post office is running a rather large pension deficit as well. So there you go, literally next door to each other. So you've got the post office here and HSBC there. So that was an easy one to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright, we'll move on to the next one. As Johnny 5-0 would say, the 1980s want their security cameras back. Yep, you're watching me and I'm watching you. blowing again. Postal truck. That's what we like.